Welcome, everyone. My name is Karen Beckerman, and I am the TANF Program Manager for Regions 5 and 7. And I want to welcome you to the Office of Family Assistance Regional Meeting for the Tribes and New Programs for Regions 4 through 8. And you can go to the next slide, Mike. The theme of this week's meeting is working together to address today's challenges and identify opportunities. And we chose this theme to both acknowledge the difficult times we have collectively, both professionally and personally, have faced over the last few years, but also to reflect our shared hope and resilience and ongoing desire to identify new innovations, new opportunities, and new partnerships. We hope this time together in the next few days will afford you chances to recharge, to learn, and to hear about new and promising practices, and to have a safe and authentic space to connect with one another. Thank you for taking the time to be here and for joining the conversation. We want to begin our session by introducing our new Director of the Office of Family Assistance, Ann Flagg, who will be sharing opening remarks with us this morning. Prior to Ms. Flagg's appointment to the Office of Family Assistance, she served as the Senior Director of Policy and Practice at the American Public Human Services Association. In this role, she led the policy and practice supports to states, local public human service agencies across child welfare, child care, economic assistance, workforce, and family supporting systems, as well as agency administration. For a complete bio on Ms. Flagg and other presenters, please remember that these are online and are available through your agendas, so you are able to click on them and get the full information on our presenters over the next 3 days. And I want to ask Mike to please start the presentation from Ms. Flagg.
Hello, my name is Ann Flagg, and I am the new Director for the Office of Family Assistance and the Administration for Children and Families. It is my pleasure to welcome you to this regional meeting. I'm so grateful to each of you for taking the time to engage with your peers and colleagues, the OFA team, and partners to learn from one another, share strategies that work across your teams, and most importantly, build our collective vision for family economic well-being in your communities. In this meeting, we will bring together TANF leaders to discuss a variety of issues facing the families we serve every day. Looking at the agenda for this week, I'm pleased to know that we are touching on critical and pressing topics that impact our programs, while also exploring many of the strategic goals we aim to address at ECF and OFA. Our priorities at OFA are driven by a commitment to advance equity and reduce structural barriers that prevent social and economic well-being for all. OFA is taking several steps, beginning internally, to improve equity by assessing our communications, promotional and website materials with an equity lens. We will look at, for example, how we would describe the TANF program and TANF participants. From there, we will determine what refinements are needed for messaging on all of our platforms. Additionally, OFA will develop TA strategies to work side by side with grantees to assess your needs and to assist you in developing or refining strategies related to race equity. We want to use this time to share strategies that work in advancing families' economic well-being through basic assistance, job preparation, and family strengthening programs. We want to learn how each of you brings your innovative program solutions and leverage your community partnerships to build pathways to economic mobility over generations. We want to hear your ideas for whole family and community-led strategies to help increase economic mobility. We want to hear how we as federal partners can support this work. Please share your successes and your challenges, your inspired ideas, and your innovations. Over the next several days, OFA regional staff have planned multiple sessions that aim to provide you with helpful and concrete information and tools to enhance your programs and support to children and families. In this time together, we also hope you have the chance to meaningfully engage and connect with one another to discuss and share your promising efforts. So many facets of our lives have been disrupted over these last 2 years: our schools, workplaces, and even access to the most basic of necessities. Stressors placed on families, and particularly low-income families, have been significant and overwhelming. I hope this week helps each of your programs in moving forward with innovative and customer-centered approaches to supporting families and achieving financial stability. I'd like to thank each of you for being here today, for your dedication, your hard work supporting families. We value the work you do each and every day. I'd also like to thank the regional staff who worked so hard to make this important meeting happen. It is an honor to be here with you today, and I look forward to our work together.
And I am thankful that Ann was able to join us via video and share her remarks and vision for the Office of Family Assistance with us this morning. Now I'd like to introduce Elaine Topsky, Program Director at the Chippewa Cree Tribal TANF program. Ms. Topsky will be sharing some brief opening remarks, as well as delivering the opening prayer for us this morning. She is a program director with a history of successful experience in program and employee management. Ms. Topsky's strength is her education and employment experience in the finance and administrative fields and knowledge of the Chippewa Cree tribe. She promotes and practices the cultural ways of the Chippewa Cree tribe and includes culture in all aspects of her Tribal TANF program, utilizing best practices and teachings of the community. Again, for a full bio, please remember that those are available online. And I'm going to turn it over to Elaine. Welcome.
Good morning. Like you heard, I'm Elaine Topsky. I'm a Chippewa Cree tribal member, and we're located in Montana, close to the Canadian border. And we have, right now our weather is like 100 degrees. And I'd like to add that we've been through, like everyone else in the country, some extreme harsh conditions from the pandemic. You know, we've lost many people, and it was extremely hard not to be able to be with our families, even close family members during this this time. Some of them in a hospital alone, and then being so isolated for over 2 years has been a detrimental effect, and I don't think we'll ever recover from that. But despite that, you know, last week we had for the first time in over 2 years, we had our powwow, and everyone, all the people that I could see in that circle came together, and they were it was just moving to see all the families, the children in that circle and dancing. That was our therapy, that was our healing. And that's what we're told from the powwow arena, that there's a lot of power in it. So it gave me faith that our culture is alive, and it was an opportunity for many of our little kids to join that circle, and their families and their parents and their grandparents were in that circle with them. So I wanted to share that because it was very powerful to be together in that big crowd, and we were able to experience that all together. But this morning, in giving thanks for that and being grateful to where we're at, me included, I'm thankful for my health and for the many blessings that we have, and we're grateful. We're grateful, and I'd like to offer that blessing to everyone today, and to remind everyone to be thankful every day for the little things. Join with me this morning in having some good thoughts for all of us as we serve the many little kids in our programs. Nustawinan kaksiwatsin. Timaginon nan anotskagik sepayag. Igok mstahe. Stekapin wapahtamakoma. Igokapin segi kuakumuma akson. Mitsete sino kapin kotagihtakig. Achipugo kapin apin biehtamak anotsoma emiumachihoyak. Dasem sinanag emiumachihotsig. Kiam nuhtoinan egwamama kapin pakseimuan kanoihtakson. Kaiky igwe kapin segi kuako ahoma mitset oasa kapin kanoy maya ako pues kapin kanoy mitsig nuhtoinan. Gamiu aku tunanong mutakatos kyak. Tihamaka kawahuigyak ekte kapin kanoy miyak. Dasem sinanag no simnanag. Kahkyo no ako magananag ekte kapin miwa pahtama kinoy sa mama kapin miu machihoyak kinoy sa kapmatsia kinoy kapin witseto akama tansi kapin aito kahkyo kapin pakseimu akama kahkyo kiyo gamio asig eksa mama no kapin pakseimu yan kapin aito ano tawinan ay. Thank you for helping me with the prayer this morning. So we're really anxious to join in and always looking forward to seeing new innovative ideas. We're always working to improve our program, and so thank you this morning. I can go over the brief PowerPoint that I did. Our history is that we contracted our program in 2004, and that funding that we got was based on 269 cases, and so our 70% of our program is from federal, and that's a block grant. And then we have our state MOE, and we have very good relationships with our federal agencies and our staff. The state has been very good to us in looking out for us in emergencies. From the time that we had a shutdown, they came forward and helped us with cash assistance immediately so that our families didn't have to go without a monthly payment. We have 4 case managers. We have a fiscal, and our fiscal has taken on added duties for admin and IT. We have an intake office manager, a work readiness person, a family resource coordinator, and we have security / quality assurance. And we're isolated 30 miles from the closest town of Havre. The biggest city in Great Falls is 100 miles away, and we're close to the Canadian border. So next slide. We have one of the best practices we have is strengthening families through our activities. Like I just mentioned, our powwow, where it was so great to see so many of our people involved in our cultural activities through dance and song. So we have those activities in helping people learn to sing and learn to sew their dancing clothes for their children. So we have many activities like that in having people. We've had Zoom sessions when we couldn't have in-person activities where we have our consultants talk about the many teachings, the parenting teachings that are ours specifically. Next. Our cultural activities, we recently partnered with the Cultural Resource Department, and they worked with a group of young boys, teaching them how to sing. And it was really great to see the progress that the young boys made. And they were actually our host drum for the youth powwow. So some of the activities that we had were making boxes, belts, and doing different kinds of beading. And because of time change, many changes, sometimes we forget some of those roles. So those are included in our activities. And we've had Chippewa and Cree language classes. And we're still doing all of these that I mentioned. Next. We have, like in everyone in the country, our caretaker cases have been increasing. About 40% of our caseload are caretaker cases. These are grandparents raising grandchildren. And this is a whole new area that we have still to really get into. And one thing we do require is a court order so that the kids are not passed around from home to home. And we have drug screening. Anyone with a positive drug test is not eligible to take care of children in their home. So, these homes are the safest that we can make for our little kids. Next. We collaborate with many agencies. Stonechild and the Rockaway School, the Box Elder School are our closest partners. And we've done so many great things as far as education and training. We have a family resource center. We have a wellness coalition that meets monthly, and that's a group of partner agencies, and we all zero in on what we can do, and we help each other. And there's a clinic that we work with them on referring people there that are positive for drug substance abuse. They don't lose their benefits as long as they're working their program. And so these are some of the many partners that we have in our departments, in our agency, and when we go into Howard too, in serving the people, and it just makes sense, to partner and make things easier. And as we're getting more used to COVID, we're getting back to doing small groups, so we can offer some of these areas to our families. Next. So that was my quick slide. I'm available. My contact information is available. So if you would like more information, I'd be happy to provide more. Thank you.
Thank you, Elaine. I appreciate the sharing information regarding your program and for providing our opening prayer this morning. Next, we'd like to spend a little time reviewing our agenda together on how we're going to spend our next few days. The next slide, please. During the next several days, we hope to share learnings on pressing topics today that for both our Tribal TANF and new programs, but we also hope to create spaces and offer opportunities for peer sharing around promising practices. Additionally, tomorrow and the third day of our meeting, we'll have time to brainstorm together and create. And we hope that we are can have some takeaways and walk away with some very useful takeaways from this meeting. As we begin our time together, we also want to acknowledge that we are again meeting virtually this year. And we look forward to and hope that even despite being virtual, that we have times throughout the meeting to connect and support helpful and meaningful discussions and dialogues across Tribal TANF and new programs. As such, we encourage you to come off mute, to turn on your cameras and use the chat box, and especially during our peer exchanges and what we are calling our create sessions that you share and talk during our discussions and have this opportunity to share with your peers. With all that being said, we also realize that this is being a virtual meeting, and as we are going throughout the 3-day meeting, there's the ebb and flows of different priorities that we will be managing over the next few days. And we want to honor everybody's comfort levels and preferences. And so being on camera and off camera, just remember to take care of yourselves and do what you feel most comfortable with and engaging during this meeting and spending time with us for the next few days. We hope this time together will provide you with helpful information and concrete tips And we also want to ensure that we take care of ourselves and each other during this time together. Next slide, please. Okay, we have a schedule of 3 half days, and our meeting will be about 2.5 hours today, and then about half days for the next couple of days for the meeting. To promote opportunities to dive more deeply into a few topics, each day will have a different theme. And our theme today is about the fundamentals of tribal and TANF and new programs. Tomorrow's theme is going to focus on jobs and employment partnerships. And then our final day is going to focus on support services that help individuals connect to work. Next slide. As I mentioned, today's theme is on TANF and new fundamentals. During our time together, we will first be exploring what those shared expectations and opportunities for partnerships between tribal and new programs are. We will also have 2 quick tip videos that will be the first of a few during this meeting, and we look forward to seeing those. They are graciously recorded by Tribal TANF and new program leaders across the regions, who will be sharing some suggestions and concrete tips regarding today's theme. We will then have 2 concurrent breakout sessions to go into either the TANF Essentials or the Tribal New Programs separately. So we'll have a choice of going to those breakout sessions. And then we'll come back together today for a plenary session focusing on the Office of Family Assistance efforts to enhance diversity, equity, and inclusion. And so that's how we'll finish up our day today. I want to hand it off to Steve, who's going to tell us a little bit about logistics and to assist us as we go through the meeting today in the next few days. Steve?
Thanks, Karen. Just a few tips to keep everyone on the same page and to make sure that you can get everything possible out of this exciting meeting. The agenda, information on all of the excellent speakers that you'll be seeing, and session materials are available on the meeting website, the Bizzabo site. We send a link out to that in your daily reminder email, and can provide that information to you separately if you need. Just send us a message in the chat box. As Karen mentioned, we definitely want this to be an interactive meeting, so you have the ability to mute and unmute yourself. So we ask that you please remain on mute during other presentations or when speakers or your fellow attendees are posing questions, to make sure that we can hear clearly everything that is being stated. At any point during presentations, you can submit questions through the chat box. They will be either addressed by the speaker directly or collected and presented to the speakers during Q&A sessions for future plenaries or breakout rooms. Speaking of breakout rooms, we will be using those quite a bit in this meeting. So there are 2 options. You may either be randomly assigned to a breakout room, or you will have your choice of rooms to select based on the topic or based on the region that you are from. So keep an eye out for that. We'll be providing more information on how that works. And again, you can always ask for assistance in the chat box if you are having any issues joining breakout rooms. We'll be doing some polls. There will be some polls that will appear on screen. Some will just ask you to provide an answer in the chat box to an open-ended question. Some will be multiple choice, and there will be a poll that will appear on your screen, and you can vote directly on the screen. So look out for those. And we'll definitely hope that you will provide your input on the meeting overall at the end of the meeting when we post a link to a survey. So we definitely want to hear from you about the meeting, so that we can use your input to guide future meetings and make sure that we are addressing your needs and your interests. And again, as I keep mentioning, we're here to help. We want this to be a rewarding and easy meeting for you. So if you need any help at all, please just send us a message in the chat box and we will reach out to you and help directly. I think that's it for me, and I'll turn it back over to Karen.
Thank you, Steve. We are going to start off now and just dive right into our first icebreaker poll. And on this poll, I'm just going to ask you to break out your keyboards and enter your responses in the chat. As the summer winds down, we just want to take a moment and share maybe via the poll a favorite event or summer activity in your community that's going on right now or that you participated recently in. Recent travel perhaps you did this summer, that county fair, a family gathering. So if you could just break out your keyboards, this is your opportunity, our first opportunity to hear from you, to share that favorite activity. If you'd enter them into the keyboard, into the chat right now, that would be fantastic. And then we'll move into our next speaker. The Cherokee Trout Derby. That sounds fun. And we heard Elaine talk about the powwow earlier, and I see that also mentioned. A rodeo, family vacations, lots of things filling up the chat box right now. Sounds like it's been a busy summer. As you're thinking and continuing to respond to our poll about that favorite summer activity or event that is going on in your community, I want to take this time to introduce our next speaker. Carrie Green is going to be leading our next session. Ms. Green joined recently the Administration for Children and Families as the branch chief for the Division of Tribal TANF Management within the Office of Family Assistance. She's a licensed counselor with over 15 years of experience, including clinical treatment, social service programming, training development, grants management, policy administration, and systems design. Before joining the Office of Family Assistance, Ms. Green supported tribal communities as the behavioral health consultant for the California area of Indian Health Services. Remember, for a full bio on our presenters, those are available online through your agendas. I'm going to now turn this over to Carrie. Welcome.
Thanks, Karen. And thank you to all of you who are choosing to spend your time with us today remotely. And I know personally, I remain grateful for the technology that allows us to meet like this, but I'm also very much looking forward to meeting you all in person one day. So before I get started, I just want to say that I have a very deep appreciation for the work that you're doing in your communities and for your partnership with our office. I believe that strong partnerships between organizations are built and maintained by fostering the strong personal relationships with the people inside those organizations. And since I haven't had the pleasure of meeting most of you, I'll break the ice a little bit by sharing some about myself. Karen mentioned a little bit about my background in human services. I've had a variety of roles, but most recently I was with the California area of Indian Health Service. And in that position, I had supported a lot of different tribal behavioral health clinics, substance use treatment centers, and many different grant-based prevention programs throughout California. In that role, I had the opportunity to visit a lot of different tribes throughout the country. Sometimes those visits were to support a program activity or to celebrate an event. And other times they were to support the community members as they were grieving from a collective trauma. During those visits, I had the privilege of sitting with tribal leaders and program staff and directors and a lot of really other compassionate people of the community. I was always honored when the tribes extended their invitation to us to visit their ancestral lands and to meet with their members, and sometimes even get to share a really fabulous traditional meal, which was always a treat. But I also knew that that invitation to visit was more than just that. It was an invitation for us and my colleagues to earn the tribe's trust. And I really want to highlight how important that is. And this program is also designed to really reinforce and show to all of you our investment in this relationship. So we would start from a humble place. We would listen to understand what was most important, and we would also listen to learn how we could be most helpful. From there, we would work to find ways to honor the tribe's request and then continue to look for opportunities to improve and deepen our partnership. As the branch chief, I intend to stay humble and to keep listening and to learn what's most important to your programs, and to also be a voice that's willing to challenge the status quo, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it's challenging, or even when it forces us to reconcile with our own shortcomings. Earlier this morning, we had the opportunity to hear a message from Ann Flagg, our new OFA director, and she acknowledged those systemic inequities that have caused your ancestors harm and continue to affect your communities. She also relayed her commitment to change. Today, you are joined by many other OFA staff who carry that same commitment to change, and I hope you see that commitment shining through over the course of the next few days. The OFA teams devoted an enormous amount of time and energy and thought into making this meeting what it is. We did that because we value our partnership with you and with your programs, and we wanted to offer support and resources that really make a difference to your program and to the families that you serve. We hope that you find these sessions informative and engaging, and we really want to create a space where you feel comfortable sharing your ideas and experiences with one another. And that might look like raising your hand to talk with a presenter, ask a question. It might be sharing your thoughts in one of the breakout sessions, or it might be leaving a comment in the chat. Whatever works for you, we just want to encourage that participation in ways that feel good for you. Next slide, please. A little later this morning, we're going to dig into our new series that we're calling the Essentials that we developed for both the Tribal TANF and the Native Employment Works programs. But before we do, I'd like to take the opportunity we have right now to share 2 short videos highlighting Tribal TANF and new program partnerships. The first video features Kathy Tupper from the Forest County Potawatomi tribe in Wisconsin, and the second features Jamie Awanahope and Terry Kahn from the Menominee Indian tribe of Wisconsin. They will share some of their promising practices and strategies for Tribal TANF and new program collaborations. And with that, we can get started with the videos.
Hello all, and welcome to the TANF and New Partnership Quick Tip. My name is Catherine Tupper. I am the Economic Support Coordinator for the Forest County Potawatomi community. I am also the sole case manager for many programs within the Economic Support Department. I am the case manager for both the TANF and the new programs. While trying to find new ways to help maximize services to participants, I felt that co-enrolling them and/or transferring between the two programs could be very beneficial, not only for the customer, but also help stretch our grant dollars so we can help more participants. When an applicant first comes in to the office requesting services, I complete an upfront resource and assessment. I am looking for their strengths, weaknesses, barriers to employment, their likes, dislikes, and supports they already have in place. Then at that time, together, we would decide which program is best for them to begin. For example, if they have a lot of barriers that need addressing prior to a work placement, I would start them on the TANF program, as long as they met the financial and non-financial requirements. We would build an individual plan that would address those barriers. Once the customer has overcome some of those barriers and are ready to move forward with their goals and update their plan, we add in the work experience on their individual service plan. I would then co-enroll them in the new program. Just getting the paperwork done and using any support dollars in the new program that the TANF program doesn't offer helps the client with as many supports as we can possibly give them. After showing success in the experience activity, I would transition this customer into the new program alone. I would then close out the TANF and place the customer on a paid work experience. The work experience program under the new program pays $8 per hour for the work they perform. They get paid weekly like a regular job, and they are expected to treat it as a regular job. While on the new work experience, they would learn job skills such as time management, attendance, customer service skills, and many other things that coming from having a job would give that individual. This makes for a seamless transfer from TANF to new and then ultimately unsubsidized employment. If your department has 2 different case managers for the TANF and new program, I suggest doing joint appointments. This can be very beneficial for the customer and make it easier for them to go from one case manager to another case manager. If you would like to discuss how to have a successful partnership between the 2 programs, I would be glad to offer any knowledge I have learned along the way. You can find my contact information on the Forest County Potawatomi Community's webpage. Thank you and have a great day.
Hello and welcome. I'm Terry Kahn. I'm with the Menominee Indian Tribe of Wisconsin. We offer our clients on our caseload supportive services, which helps to eliminate any barriers to employment.
In the JTP program, it is called an Employability Development Plan. In this plan, the client will have goals that should meet the requirements of the program and eliminate barriers to maintaining employment.
Hello everyone, I'm Jamie Wanape, TANF caseworker through Menominee Indian Tribe of Wisconsin.
In the TANF program, the plan is called a Family Service Plan. Each program has a service plan in which goals are developed.
The Menominee Indian Tribe of Wisconsin operates the TANF program within our service area for all races and needy families to help them become and maintain self-sufficiency. Programs include regular TANF, diversionary, transitional, and child-only services.
In this plan, the client's goals would focus on becoming self-sufficient and work-ready. Both plans are goal-oriented and should strive to prepare the client for gainful employment and provide support to their family in the long term.
You take the time to go and meet with different agencies or departments and create a good working relationship with them. You can do many things. You can create many opportunities for your clients, for your departments. It's just, if you take the time to do it, if you make time to do it. The reason you would do that is for your client. Always keep the focus and your heart in it that you're doing this for them. You're doing this to create opportunities for your community. So I think that's one of the greatest things that I love about working in as a job counselor, for the TANF and job training program.
Referrals are done between the job training program and TANF, and both programs use the Tribal Assistance System software known as TAS. This allows caseworkers in either program to view each other's case notes and provide a means for uninterrupted services to the client. This prevents a client from accessing duplicate services, and if one program is not able to assist with a supportive service, the other program may be able to provide that service. The tips and takeaways that we would like to share with you are: open communication, know your resources and partnerships, have snacks, water, and coffee available and incorporate humor if possible and have fun.
Good morning, everyone. This is Jessie Kendall from ICF. You'll be hearing my voice quite a few times actually during the next few days to help as we transition from various sessions. First, I want to just thank so much Kathy and Terry and Jamie for those wonderful tips and videos. If we could also have the slides back up for a moment, I'll share where we're about to head. Great, thank you. So as you can see, we are actually going to take a quick break. We will only do that for about 10 minutes. It's about 11:13 Eastern time. That would be 10:13 Central, 9:13 Mountain. So we're a little bit ahead of schedule. So why don't we plan just to take, again, 10 minutes just for a break. We can stretch, grab something to drink, use the restroom, do a quick check on those emails if you need to. Please just remain logged in. If you're on camera so far, thank you for doing so. We can just turn off our cameras. And when we come back, we will tee ourselves up to move into our first breakout session with respect to TANF essentials or TANF fundamentals. So with about 10 minutes, let's rejoin promptly at 11:23, or that would be 10:23 or 9:23 Mountain. Thank you again, everyone, for being here. We'll take a quick break and please rejoin in 10 minutes. All right. Hope everyone's back, refreshed, had a chance to stretch, do a few things. Welcome back. As I had mentioned before, the quick break, we are about to move into 2 concurrent breakout sessions. Each will last about an hour. And whether you are a seasoned professional, having worked in Tribal TANF or new programming for a very long time, or if you are new to this work, this is the session for you. This is about the fundamentals, the essentials of Tribal TANF and new programming, where experts from the Office of Family Assistance will be leading you in presentation and discussion around some of the program's flexibilities, around the regulations, around really critical topics that each of you are likely grappling with every day, whether that's eligibility criteria, cash assistance amounts, penalties, work participation rates, etc. During this hour too, there will be an opportunity for Q&A. So as those questions are arising, whether they're clarifying or other questions or reflections, please feel free to use the chat box to put those questions in. And certainly during the Q&A session, please also feel free to come off mute and share your questions verbally, particularly for those of you who are on the phone. Now, how this is going to work logistically is that in about a moment, there's going to be a screen that comes up that's going to allow you to choose and click on one of 2 buttons. One button will say Tribal TANF and the other will say new program. So if you are in a Tribal TANF program, you would likely want to choose the Tribal TANF breakout room. If you are in a new program, you would want to choose the new program room. If you sit in both spaces, now would be the time to figure out which room that you'd like to go to. And certainly if there's more than one representative from your program present today, now too would be an opportunity to perhaps huddle with them very quickly or send an instant message to go to one of each room. So that way you can have the benefit of both. Can we go to the next slide real quick? So in a moment, this screen that you're seeing on the left is going to pop up. And you're going to be invited to, again, click join in whichever room that you would like to go to. If for whatever reason you're not seeing this breakout menu appear in a moment, you can click the breakout room icon at the bottom of the screen. If for some reason you're still not seeing it, please use the chat box and tech support will help make sure you get to the right room. If you're on the phone, tech support will also be in touch with you to make sure that you're going into the room that you would like. So any questions about that before the tech takes over? Everyone good? All right. Well, let's now move into these two breakout rooms around TANF fundamentals. Hopefully that will appear on your screen momentarily. Oh, it did for me. Join a breakout room.
Good morning, everyone. I think it's, well, maybe good afternoon for those on the East Coast. Welcome back. We are going to head into our final session for today, our plenary session of enhancing diversity, equity, and inclusion in OFA's partnerships with Tribal Grantees. My name is Keisha Russell, and I'm the Regional TANF Program Manager in Region 6 Dallas and Region 8 in Denver. As you all kind of heard this morning from Director Flagg and also from our Tribal TANF Management Branch Chief, Carrie Green, OFA, with the President's call for equity within services, OFA, we have renewed our commitment and are refocusing on improving the equitable administration of our programs for all of our eligible families. And that includes Tribal TANF, Native Employment Works. I think you all will probably, I think everybody knows, many of the policies and practices in the implementation of our programs are based on racial stereotypes. They're based on inaccurate assumptions about safety net programs and little understanding of the economic and social realities of families that we serve and that these programs serve. That being said, and with that, OFA is dedicated to equity. And we are investing in changing the narrative around our programs and changing attitudes that inform policy about American families that are being served. Part of that, then we are also very invested in addressing equity with our tribal programs. So with this today, we do have 3 individuals that are working within a group within OFA to do just that. They are working to develop strategies and to develop ideas that will help OFA to address equity and to address equity that is outside of OFA so that it partners with those who work with us, not just in-house. So today for this session, we have with us Rebecca Horsechief, and she is a Family Assistance Program Specialist with the Division of Tribal TANF Management in OFA. We also have Ms. Lizeth Hester, who is also a Family Assistance Program Specialist with OFA, and also Patrick Hyman, who is a TANF Program Specialist at our regional office in Region 10. So I am going to turn it over to the 3 of you. Thank you.
Rebecca, you might be on mute.
Sorry, I know it's not been too terrible, a long day, but we're glad that you're here with us. And you actually didn't miss too much just then. I was just saying hello and thank you for being with us today. I'll be starting off this presentation for a few slides, and then I'll pass it off to Lizeth, and we'll end with Patrick. So as Keisha said, I am a Family Assistance Program Specialist with the Division of Tribal TANF Management. And I'm very fortunate and lucky to be working with OFA during this time to be part of a group called Beyond OFA, where we are discussing pretty regularly diversity, equity, and inclusion in relation to our tribal grantees and partners. So if you'll move to the next slide, please. So racial equity is fair treatment of all people, resulting in fair opportunities and outcomes for everyone to thrive. This includes elimination of policies, practices, attitudes, and cultural messages that reinforce differential outcomes by race or that fail to eliminate them. So I'll let you all read that. And I want to follow up by saying that utilizing a racial equity lens helps to develop goals and outcomes that will result in improvements for all groups. But the strategies are targeted based on the needs of a particular group. Systems that are failing communities of color are actually failing all of us. To utilize a racial equity lens, a system must see implicit and explicit biases and racism as an individual and institutional problem. Next slide. OFA Tribal DEI hopes to engage our tribal partners in identifying and implementing TANF needs in areas of technology, policy, and technical assistance efforts that enhance equity and inclusion by examining and evaluating communication and internal processes to support a more inclusive, equitable, and effective partnership in OFA's work with tribal communities. I know it's a mouthful, but we really thought about identifying every way that we work with our tribal partners and communities so that we're talking with you, not for you. So as OFA considers how to improve and enhance our work with our tribal communities, there's an essential need to include and amplify the diverse voices and perspectives of the tribal programs that we support. There's been an effort to include tribal voices, but it's typically resulted in the dehumanization of this group. Whether it has been intentional or not, the effort to engage and or encourage has not happened to the extent that it's being reflected in policy. Tribal contributions, meaningful communication, and technical assistance. By encouraging engagement from tribal TANF community partners to provide contributions to OFA diversity, equity, and inclusion, the process and the outcome of change, focusing on addressing and providing culture-centric tribal TANF and technical assistance through a DEI lens effectively establishes a talking with you, not for you relationship. This was a huge conversation we had in our Beyond OFA group. I represent one of many folks that work for the Office of Family Assistance, and they represent one of 506 federally recognized tribes, likely 577 now, not to mention state and not federally recognized tribes. So with regards to the 75 tribal TANF programs that we represent and we work on behalf of, we want to hear from you and not talk for you. And that is my portion of this presentation. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rebecca. So as we talk about OFA's DEI efforts, we want to start at the beginning of why this effort was started. As President Biden stated on June 25th, 2021, the federal government's goal in advancing equity is to provide everyone with the opportunity to reach their full potential. Thus, the executive order on diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility in the federal workforce was issued. This executive order focused on advancing racial equity and support for underserved communities through the federal government by advancing equity, civil rights, racial justice, and equal opportunity as the sole responsibility of the whole of our government. As Rebecca previously mentioned, to further advance equity within the federal government, this order established that it is the policy of the administration to cultivate a workforce that draws from the full diversity of the nation. The Office of Family Assistance cultivated a conversation around TANF and diversity, equity, and inclusion, and created the DEI work group, making a shift to racial equity at the Office of Family Assistance. In this work group, OFA recognizes and is trying to align with the federal government to pursue a comprehensive approach to advancing equity for all, including people of color and individuals and families who have historically been underserved, marginalized, and adversely affected by persistent economic challenges and inequality. OFA, like ACF, is making DEI a central part of how we operate and deliver our mission. Pursue a robust approach to advance equity across our programs and processes, and engage all sectors of TANF community to inform our strategy. With that subgroup, several other subgroups were created. Those are humanizing human resources, thriving culture, beyond OFA, and tribal. These work groups hope to build new TANF DEI initiatives to grow an appealing and equitable culture that respects diverse perspectives, backgrounds in the workplace, partnerships within individuals, and the families we serve. Next slide, please. As I said in the previous slide, there are currently several subgroups. The subgroups are working on various collaborative projects that intersect DEI work in TANF. The Beyond OFA work group, which houses a large portion of our work, looks at applying an equity lens to TANF communications, which means OFA products such as websites, written materials, visual representation, language in contracts, and published materials. Beyond OFA is currently working on some exciting developments. They are currently working on developing a document compiling and busting common myths about welfare recipients, the welfare system, and TANF, in addition to compiling several glossary preferred terminology resources and working on next steps to identify language that should be updated on OFA's website and future publications. As well, within those subgroups are other subgroups, and some of those focus on operationalizing racial equity, building staff and grantee capacity to operationalize racial equity through technical assistance. This will help equip staff and grantees with tools and training to identify racist components and proactively support and create the development of anti-racist policies. Currently, that group is looking at providing internal training to support common understanding of racial equity and also identifying what has been developed and created to showcase TANF partnerships and recipients that reflect a positive and realistic narrative. As well, operationalizing racial equity through OFA internal process. By evaluating our internal processes through a racial equity lens, we equip staff with data and resources to shift internal processes in our daily work. Some developments include completing an initial racial equity assessment of state TANF data, measures to inform the creation of state data snapshots. In humanizing human resources, that subgroup focuses on making sure an employer that OFA is an employer that demonstrates a commitment to serving diverse communities in an equitable and inclusive manner through a DEI lens by focusing on recruitment, hiring, promotion, and performance evaluation. The work group hopes to reflect this by addressing how to maintain and recruit diverse personnel, intentional and transparent human resource policies and practices in support of DEI and equitable opportunities for promotion and professional development. Humanizing Human Resources is currently working on creating a visual representation of existing OFA HR processes and procedures. Once complete, the goal is to use the document to increase transparency and clarity around OFA HR, identify opportunities to inform DEI efforts, and assist in developing supplemental HR procedural tools that strengthen DEI efforts in OFA HR. As well, in Thriving in Culture, the focus of this subgroup is identifying proactive solutions to help strengthen OFA's culture, both internal and external, around racial equity through looking at metrics and understanding, awareness, learning, and accountability, change implementation, and impact. The Thriving Work Group brings together collective knowledge, skills, and experiences to facilitate strategies that will revitalize office norms so that every OFA staff member can thrive in an environment where they feel seen, connected, valued, and respected, regardless of race, gender, sexual orientation, or disability. Thriving Culture team has been engaging in the following activities: conducting research on various assessment tools that can be used to help understand staff experiences around diversity and racial equity, learning more about what data or information is already available to us at ACF to help inform new survey questions. And work is currently underway to compile survey questions to be used for staff assessment tools. As well, the last group, Tribal DEI, as stated above, was created to address inclusive partnerships with tribal TANF leaders. Looking at the intersectionality of all the subgroups mentioned previously and how those work groups address the specific needs of tribal communities and identify and addressing any additional needs that are specific to the tribal community. For example, we are currently assessing and evaluating our current communication practices and internal practices to support a more inclusive partnership in OFA's work with tribal communities by hosting several upcoming projects that we will discuss. Next slide, please. So as we are talking about the examples of possible or future DEI efforts within tribal community, the Tribal DEI team wants to include and amplify the diverse voices and perspectives of the tribal programs OFA supports in partnership with our Tribal TANF and new grantees. We want the Tribal DEI work group to be inclusive to all. So we are really promoting that tribal TANF leaders join. We are still in infancy and we would love to have various voices join us and give their perspectives. As well, to encourage engagement from the tribal TANF community partners to contribute to OFA DEI, the process and the outcome of change, focusing on addressing and providing culture-centric tribal TANF and technical assistance through a DEI lens. Again, we welcome tribal TANF DEI participants, informing us on what technical assistance is needed within tribal communities and how OFA can address TA needs. Just recently, OFA TA hosted a webinar focused on building a culture of trauma-informed practices to serve families receiving tribal TANF on July 28th. We hope to create more products and webinars that address the specific needs of the tribal community. As well, examining and evaluating communication and internal processes to support a more inclusive and equitable, effective partnership in OFA's work with tribal communities by conducting listening sessions. We want to examine tribal TANF communication and process the same way we are within internal OFA, but what are the specific needs within tribal communities, which tribal DEI recognizes are different from regional TANF. Overall, strengthening the OFA relationship with tribal TANF so that work is not done in silos across tribal and regional communities and exchanges occur. As well, analyzing OFA demographic data for hiring, retention, advancement, data by race, gender, age, grade, and position. We want to know what the data looks like for tribes and how can tribal DEI utilize it and create more equitable workspaces and opportunities. As well, looking at recruitment practices within tribal TANF. For example, what does the federal recruitment at tribal higher learning institutions look like? Patrick will go more into depth about listening sessions, but as well, transparency. Beyond OFA and its subgroup, Tribal DEI intends to identify and implement technology, policy, and technical assistance efforts to enhance equity and inclusion. By addressing how OFA can enhance technology, policy, and TA to address tribal inclusion by having the tribal TANF community assessing their needs and sharing the results. What does tribal TANF policy look like from a DEI perspective? Addressing hiring practice, equitable accessibility to resources and materials on the OFA website, creating more peer exchanges within tribal TANF. As well, we are looking to host future tribal consultations for insight on issues that reflect a new policy direction. Next slide, please. Tribal DEI, Today is our first introduction to tribal DEI work and building a diverse work group within tribal TANF leaders. We are currently presenting not only today for tribal TANF 4 through 8, but we are also having a presentation for tribal regions 9 through 10. And we also hope to hold, as I stated before, listening sessions in efforts to advance diversity, equity, and inclusion across all programs and receive feedback, as well hosting consultations so that we can address improving tribal TANF evaluation of their internal policies, program and practices, and services using a racial equity lens. Patrick will go into more depth about the upcoming listening sessions. Thank you.
Okay, next slide, please. This is it. Okay, groovy. Hey, folks. So I think as my colleagues discussed earlier, the foundation of all this tribal DEI work is really the input, and the guidance, and the recommendations from you folks, from OFAs, tribal grantees, on what specific actions with that DEI lens would have the most impact for their programs and their communities. And I think, as you mentioned before, OFA's plan is to hold, I think, we're pretty robust listening session involving tribal grantees from across the US as the primary method for kind of gathering this input, this information. I think we're still kind of thinking through the precise format of the listening session, and we're definitely open to any preferences or ideas that folks have about how to run this meeting. I think for now, kind of our initial thoughts are to hold, I think, anywhere from like an hour and a half to a 2-hour convening of Tribal TANF program managers, frontline staff, to discuss ways that OFA can improve equity and inclusion in their work with tribal communities. It's likely, the listening session is likely going to be kind of like you can call it kind of like a hybrid model of small group discussion and opportunities for folks to provide input anonymously. And I think, part of the listening session will be using a lot of kind of guiding questions that will probably kind of adhere to what some folks call kind of a start, stop, continue format. And basically kind of thinking about, tribal grantees relationship with OFA, from your perspective, what does OFA need to start doing, stop doing, or continue doing? So I think there's a couple of sample questions here, and we're still kind of working with those guiding questions. And again, this is another place that we'd love feedback from folks about what are kind of the important questions that need to be asked when thinking about implementing tribal DEI work. So I think the plan, once we have the listening sessions and folks provide all this feedback and input, the plan then is to gather all that guidance and recommendation, and then kind of lay out several actionable items that OFA can pursue along the lines of this goal of making Tribal TANF, the program itself, more equitable, more inclusive. So yeah, I think as that bullet mentions here, we're still working on identifying a specific date and time for the listening sessions. I think right now we're kind of tentatively looking at early December. I think the plan now is to follow up in the fall, probably around mid-October, with more specifics. So be on the lookout for that. Next slide, please. So yeah, again, in terms of next steps, as I mentioned before, we're still working on getting that specific date for the listening session. When we do, we'll reach out to everyone with kind of a save the date, followed by a more kind of formal calendar hold. And I think importantly, I think the plan is to send in advance the guiding questions and the big questions that were covered in listening sessions. And this will kind of give folks a chance to really think about and ponder their responses, questions prior to the meeting, rather than just having them right in front of you and having to kind of think on the fly. If you do have any kind of comments, feedbacks, or questions, I know we're kind of out of time. And we're hoping you do have comments, feedbacks, or question about kind of this upcoming tribal DEI work. Please reach out to Rebecca Horsechief. She was our first speaker. And I think she, along with the other tribal DEI work group members, will be sure to answer any questions or talk through any thoughts or concerns. Yeah. Again, thanks so much, folks. Much appreciated.
Thank you, Patrick, Lizeth, and Rebecca for your remarks. If we can go to the next slide. Well, we are at about 1 o'clock. Gosh, just exactly 1 o'clock Eastern, 12 Central, 11 Mountain. We are going to be wrapping up momentarily. I would just like to thank all of you for being here on this first day of our 3-day meeting, and to all the speakers and presenters who shared their insights and reflections and knowledge with us today. As you guys might recall from what Carrie and Karen said at the top of this meeting, the sessions that you're experiencing today, but also the ones that we're going to have tomorrow and the next day, really draw from conversations that we had with many of you that are on this call today. As you might remember, several months ago, we had a series of calls and conversations about what topics you wanted to hear about and cover in this meeting, and we hope that they do reflect those recommendations. And today's session really was about those fundamentals, those essentials around Tribal TANF and new programs, as well as hearing about the significant and comprehensive efforts that OFA is undertaking around diversity, equity, inclusion. Next slide. Tomorrow, we continue our conversation promptly at 10:30 Eastern, that's 9:30 Central, 8:30 Mountain, in this same platform. And the focus will be different. In fact, tomorrow's focus and the following days will be thematically oriented. So tomorrow we will be focused almost exclusively on employment, in-demand jobs, employment partnerships. Again, that was one of the topics so many of you had expressed interest in covering. And so we will do so for our entire time together tomorrow, using a format that we're going to use both tomorrow and the following day. And so that format, we're going to have an opportunity for presentation and learning. We will then have opportunities for discussion and peer exchange and sharing some of those promising practices. And those conversations will be led by several of you who are on this call right now, both Tribal TANF and new program leaders. And then we're going to move into an opportunity to create something together. We're going to do an activity to develop some takeaways, some hopefully concrete advice and suggestions together as a group that we can then circulate to everyone so that it can be a useful document and activity that you can carry with you after this meeting. Next slide. So thank you again for being here today. Again, we will see you bright and early tomorrow morning, and just really appreciate your time and attention. Thank you. Have a great day.